There were 6 Hickel boys: Ted, Bob, Wally Jr., Jack, Joe, and Carl. Well, 2 join us right now: Dr. Hickel, who has practiced medicine from Alaska to Africa. And we also have Joe Hickel, and he's the guy every Christmas that makes the wonderful gingerbread village, the culinary genius that pulls that off. Now, you work at the hotel still, and how many family members are currently there, and who are they?
There's 3 of us there. I'm the pastry chef. My brother Carl's the masseuse, the Captain Cook Athletic Club, and my brother Wally, he runs the hotel.
And your parents were very proud of that.
Yes, very proud of that.
You know, and what is it like to be part of one of the few family-owned hotels, you know, of that size?
It's a real honor. Being a family-owned hotel is very special. Creates a wonderful atmosphere. We get a lot of comments about that. It's when you walk in the hotel, it's timeless. Nothing changes. People come in and they've been there many, many years. They just like the atmosphere.
Well, that's what I liked about visiting with your parents, and you often saw them at the hotel, arm in arm, and your dad had this very affectionate way of referring to your mom. I'd hear him say something like, "Mother, are you ready to go?" You know, he always called her Mother. What's the story behind that, you think?
You know, I think he just had such deep respect and admiration for her. I mean, he loved his own mother deeply. She was a very special woman, German woman. But he loved Mom in such a way that that title of mother showed respect. She was a mother of his kids, and she was the one that really united the family together.
But Joe, you know, earlier in one of our stories, we have you quoted as calling her Little Mussolini.
Yes, she was, yeah, I did. I quoted that just because she,
that sweet woman, you
that
called
sweet
her
woman,
Little...
yeah. She put us to work around the house, a lot of chores, and naturally we had to get the job done. And there was 5 or 6 of us around the house, but and just she was taskmaster, and I always just kind of made fun of her a little bit that way because she just make us work so hard, and she'd have these little sticky notes. She'd put them on our toilet seat, on our mirror, and you'd slide the mirror, and there'd be another one there, and you're like, you know what? We haven't even got to work yet. Haven't even got breakfast yet. We got all these notes. To all these chores we got to do. And for me personally, I don't know about the rest of the brothers, when I got done with one chore, I just couldn't go on to the next. I had to wait for my mom to come and check my job, make sure it was done right.
So she dotted the I's and crossed the T's.
Yeah, it did. Drove you crazy when you're at that age, you know?
But was it character building, you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, she was a perfectionist in a lot of ways. She wanted to make sure the jobs were done in a timely and a proper manner, which really boded well for how we, you know, approached life later on. Made sure the homework was done, made sure all the things were taken care of. But it was done not to be a taskmaster so much as to make sure the job was done fine, done well, and that we were successful in what we did. Yeah. But it was all done in really a spirit of loving and caring and really tenderness. She really had a tender heart, despite that, you know, that image sometimes of being the taskmaster.
Well, your dad was definitely the front man of the family band, so to speak. You know, and you know, you might characterize her as kind of the bass player, keeping the rhythm for everybody. But I got the sense sometimes that she was a visionary too, in some ways. That, you know, for example, in an interview with Red Boucher, she talked about being interested in alternative medicine, that was one of her passions, and that was back in the 70s. So ahead of her time, too.
Very much. I mean, she did have a vision for that. I mean, she was very much into the natural whole foods, vitamins, minerals, eating healthy, and she stayed with that for most of the rest of her life.
And she made a comment in the Boucher interview that, "I serve my kids dessert every night, and I did them a disservice."
She did it because she thought that was the good thing to do and to make her kids happy. Yeah, you know, and she was a visionary, as you mentioned. In fact, it was Mom that got Dad to run for governor the second time in 1990.
Right. I don't think people realize that.
That's right.
I think they probably thought it was Jack Coghill, his running mate, that put him up to it. But
well, there was certainly a lot of interaction between Coghill and my dad, but it was ultimately Mom says, "Dad, you've got to run. You've got to run for governor. There's so much that needs to be done in this state." Yeah. And it was just at the last minute that Dad said, okay, I'm going to do it. He ran down to the election office, signed up to run with just a couple of minutes to spare.
Now, your dad always had lots of controversy around him. I mean, especially when he was Interior Secretary, Hickel fired him. It's got to be hard when you love someone, you know, as much as I'm sure your mom did your father, to just be around that constant criticism. And in today's, you know, 24/7 news cycle, it's really hard to be a politician.
Very difficult. Dad, you know, Dad was a rebel. Dad was a rebel. He saw the way things were and he saw where they needed to go. And some of the things he had to do was way outside the box. Yeah. You know, you shut down the oil companies in Santa Barbara.
Oh, after that oil
spill. If there's
spill.
an oil spill, you stop the Everglades from being destroyed by a jet port and to keep the Everglades pure. You know, he was a rebel in a lot of those ways.
But it's hard to be a wife to a rebel, I would think.
It is. But Mom was the thing that kind of helped tame things, kept it in control, kept it kind of this human face, the supportive, loving, but very visionary woman herself.
So kind of caring and managing Walter, it sounds like. But what other part of First Lady did she like that was important to her?
Well,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, Mom enjoyed, she is full of love. She loved everybody, and there was never a stranger. She loved going to the villages. And she really, really enjoyed that kind of stuff.
Do you think it took her back to her roots at her homestead, her family homestead?
It could have, yeah, because she's a very humble lady, wouldn't you say? I mean,
Oh, yeah, very.
and she just, she talked about that stuff a lot. Putting their set net out below the house, and they get in their dory and they go across, you know, go down the inlet, and they'd just get other fish. Or my Uncle Dick talked about when they go moose hunting out there towards Earthquake Park, and they set the dory out and they go moose hunting.
Yeah.
And just that kind of stuff like that. And Mom she was just very special. She just, like I said, she loved, there was never a stranger. She loved going out in the villages because of the fact there was a need out there.
Yeah.
A lot of things just that needed to be fixed. And she had a compassion for those people out there.
One thing I have to ask you about is your dad was often ridiculed for talking about this little man that would speak to him. And he made it sound, I interviewed him once and I said, what's the deal with the little man? Is this just a figure of speech? And he said, no, he's real. Yeah. He's real. And so people would not really know for sure if your dad thought that he was something real or just an expression.
Dad didn't mind if people laughed at him. It didn't bother him a bit. And they laughed at him about this little man. But inside, I think everybody realizes that this little man was his intuition, his conscience. And that little man was really what helped give him vision for the future.
So what'd your mom think about him?
She thought Dad's intuition was impeccable. She knew that if Dad put his sights on something, it was going to happen.
Well, like for example, after the earthquake, you know, he was one of the people out front pushing to rebuild.
Absolutely.
And people thought that downtown was not a good idea.
They thought they should move downtown. It was crazy. So he said no. He built a hotel right on the edge of where the earth had kind of split right there on 4th Avenue.
So one of the things that people remember your mom for are the little hats she wore. How did that get started? Because she didn't wear them in the first term of government.
No. You know, I think it got started because she was so busy, so many things that she had to do, you know, when you're living a life like that she didn't have time almost to fix her hair. So she put a hat on saying, you know, if I just put my hat on, it covers all the sins of not being able to fix my hair properly.
So you couldn't accuse her of having a bad hair day, so to speak.
She would cover up her bad hair days.
I wish we could do that every day. Well, you know, she said that she loved your dad. In one of the interviews I saw with her in a documentary about your dad, that she loved him because he was fun. You agree?
Yeah. Oh, God, he was fun, man. I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, he loved to ride horses. We had a horse barn.
Yeah.
And we had 2 horses. We had a Palomino and Appaloosa, Duke and Alley, and we'd go horseback riding. And I was younger then, and he'd take Jack and Wally, whoever's around, they'd go horseback riding in the wintertime.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, just all sorts of stuff like
Yeah,
that.
we go horseback riding down on the mud flats in front of Kincaid and those areas. That was before the earthquake, so it wasn't quite as muddy. And he would pretend that we were doing gun smoke, charging across the grasslands.
Well, we've got one quick picture to show
Dad.
here, and this is of the whole family. This was taken a few years back, but
Yes.
boy, your mom and dad are looking good there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great photo.
beautiful picture.
Big family.
Yes.
So one quick question, and we're about out of time, is why did he want to be buried standing up?
Go ahead.
Because he said that if they screw up in Alaska or in Washington, D.C., he wanted to be ready to crawl out of his grave and straighten them out.
Well, we'll have to leave it at that, but we do want to let you know, here's a date to mark on your calendar. A memorial mass for Ermalee Hickel is set for Wednesday, October 18th, 5:30 at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. And another note, special thanks to UAA APU Consortium Library Special Collections Department for its help in finding photographs of the Hickel family. Staff there does a wonderful job in preserving Alaska's history, and we also had help from UAF's Film Archives. So many treasures. Well, finally, we welcome your comments and photos. Just send them to frontiers@ktva.com. We want to thank you for joining us, and until next time, we'll see you. But first, we leave you with some photos of Ermalee Hickel, set to the music of Yellow Bird, a song that she loved to dance to.